Welcome. Hi. I'm Basic. I am here to walk you all through Unity and Blender and avatars and how to upload them and how to make your own cool stuff. That's the main reason I got into avatar creation in the first place. Admittedly, I haven't sold anything yet. Haven't really tried to. Mostly, I got into this because I wanted an avatar that felt like me. I saw, obviously, like we all do, you find some avatars you like, you either buy them or get them for free or find them in public avatar search worlds or whatever. And you're like, oh, it would be cool to have this one little edit. Oh, how do I have to do that? Oh, you have to download Unity. Oh, okay. How hard could it be? And then the pipeline begins. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're waist deep in Blender, cursing the world. Uh, and it's useful to have somebody around when you're drowning, so you can drown together at least, or hopefully have somebody pull you out of the water and save you and teach you the ways, bring you onto the lifeboat. So that's hopefully what I am here to do, is to bring you along, get an avatar uploaded for anybody who is working through just the basics here. I'm hoping that everybody's going to be able to follow along today. If you don't want to follow along or are unable to for whatever reason, that's fine. I'm going to be streaming all of the steps throughout, so everybody will be able to follow along visually. We also will have an audio recording and a video recording of this class for anybody to follow along later. But what I'm hoping for today, I'm hoping by the end of the day that you'll be able to download an Avi off of any website, Gumroad or Booth probably, or Jinxie, to be able to load that avatar into Unity, to be able to click around Unity, understand it, at least at a core conceptual level, and then upload it to VRChat and see your model in game. We're also going to cover some basic addition of accessories. So I have a halo that I'm going to be adding to an avatar. I should even be able to just show you that halo right now. I'm going to be this guy. So we're going to add this little cog halo to your avatar and have it hover over your head. Feel free to follow along with an avatar of your own choice if you'd like, but I have a recommended avatar if you need something free or want to follow along exactly with what I'm doing. It's Clara right here by Battle Bunny. So we have a couple of things we're going to need to download if anybody has not already downloaded them to get started. We have VRC Creator Companion. VRC Creator Companion is the core tool that we're going to use to launch Unity. It's also what we use to download a lot of the packages that are essential to working with VRChat. So this is all made by the VRChat team proper, and has all of the API, the world stuff, the avatar stuff built into it, as well as a nice package manager that we can use to go download third-party stuff. We're going to be covering a couple of different third-party packages today, but I'll keep it simple now to start. The link to VRC Creator Companion is in chat. We are using this Unity Blender discussion channel. Feel free to, if you don't know where that is, click on the voice chat channel here, and you'll be able to go get a direct link to that channel. Inside of the Unity Blender discussion channel, there's a link to VRChat Creator Companion and the Clara avatar by Battle Bunny. I recommend you download both of those. If you don't already have Unity, the VRChat Creator Companion will prompt you to go download Unity, follow those prompts. And if it asks you to download a specific version, I have that version there as well. In general, VRChat supports two different versions of Unity, 2019 and 2022. We are going to exclusively use 2022 for the sake of this class. I've never had to touch any of the older versions. With that being said, any questions as we get started here?
Nah.
Cool. I imagine a lot of you already have all this downloaded, but I'm going to start the class assuming that everybody is brand new. As usual, feel free to put anything in chat there as well. We'll go ahead and show off the Creator Companion site here. This is the Creator Companion wiki, just the getting started site. This is all on the VRChat docs site. This is where you can go find the download link as well as all of the technical information. You don't really need to touch any of this. You just need to go download it. Very simple. And there's a download link on VRChat's website. Speaking of which, my status is wrong. Nice. Let's go fix that real quick. Cool. All right, so we're going to be downloading this Clara avatar. It is free. I've already downloaded it. In general, we'll go even through the basics of what is Gumroad, what is Booth, what is Jynxi. So these are all websites we can download 3D assets, including avatars for VRChat. Jynxi and Gumroad are typically a Western audience, and Booth is typically an Eastern audience, although obviously anything can be posted anywhere. You'll often find that Booth avies have a very particular style to them. Same with Gumroad avies. You can oftentimes just look at them and tell, which is very interesting to me. They oftentimes also follow similar conventions when it comes to shaders, which we'll briefly touch on in this class. There's two very popular shaders called Poiomi and Liltoon. We're going to be downloading Poiomi as part of this class and diving into that. But if you download a Booth Avi, you will see a lot of Liltoon as well. A lot of the concepts apply across both of them. That all being said, once you have VRC Creator Companion, we have a couple of things we're going to want to be downloading on top of VRC Creator Companion. So if you load it up, you are going to be greeted with this list. It'll be empty for you. And you're going to want to be creating a new project. But first, we have a whole bunch of additional packages we're going to want to add. I'm going to stick to some of the most basic ones for you here. The very first one, and the one that I think that everybody is going to want and most avatar creators will require you to have, is VRC Fury. I'll put a link to this in chat. VRC Fury is oftentimes not required for avies, but it's almost always required for accessories. So a lot of accessories that you have will have automatic tooling on them to go add like a toggle or whatever to your avatar. All of that is typically VRC Fury. There is an alternative to VRC Fury called Modular Avatar. We're not going to be covering that as a part of this introduction. I mostly just wanted to mention that it does exist, and I'm going to be posting a link to this in my meeting notes after class. So there's a download link here. Just follow it. It will take you to this button here, and clicking this, once you have VRChat Creator Companion installed, will take you to this page that doesn't work for me because I already have it added. But it will show you an Add Repository button. You click the Add Repository button. It should just work. If you have any questions about that process, let me know. In addition, it's probably good to have Poiomi. So Poiomi can be downloaded through Poiomi's website, or you can download a pro version called Poiomi Pro from their Patreon, I think, which gives you access to a Discord channel. But you can also, for ease of use, add it right here. So if you go to this website, I'll also post it in chat. There you go. You'll be able to hit the Add to VCC button for Poiomi. And I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to need to get started. Lots of other things we can discuss later. But once you've done those things, we're going to be able to create a new project in VRC Creator Companion. So we'll hit Create New Project up here. You have lots of options. We're going to be picking the Unity 2022 Avatar project. We're going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it Clara Class. And put it wherever you're going to put it. Project locations. I recommend something short like C/bench. I'm actually not following my usual protocol here, so I wanted to throw it in OneDrive. You probably shouldn't have these things in OneDrive. Do as I say, not as I do sort of situation. OneDrive is notorious for corrupting files. It hasn't happened to me yet, but that doesn't mean it won't happen to you. Thank you for that link. Appreciate that. Okay, once you've done that, you can hit Create Project. We will get to the package management screen. Here's where you can add any of the packages we have previously discussed. It's going to sit here and spin on this for a second. Don't mind that. That's just an old repository I haven't cleaned up yet. And you'll get a huge list of a whole bunch of different things. You'll have the official VRChat SDK stuff here. So we have the base and the avatars, a bunch of curated mods, and then any community mods that we have added. I'm going to have a much longer list than you. We can discuss any of these other ones at some other time. What I'm going to have you all do is hit add on 3 of these. In particular, we want gesture manager. So I'm going to hit add over here. If you don't see the curated repos, click on this drop down up at the top right and check curated. We are also going to go grab VRC Fury. And lastly, Poyomi. Poyomi Toon Shader right here. Cool. Once you've done that, you're going to have your Unity version that you downloaded up here in the top right corner. There are sometimes it will have you download different versions of Unity 2022. The officially sanctioned version is 2022.3.22 F1. If you don't use this version, you'll get a nasty gram in Unity. I think you can still upload just fine, but it will yell at you. You can hit open project and it will launch Unity for you. Now, if you downloaded Clara, that will be in a zip folder. You're going to want to unzip that folder. And inside of it, you will find a Unity package file. This Unity package file is, think of it just as like any sort of other package file, like a zip or a tar file. This is what Unity uses to compress all of its information down into one bite-sized file and how it imports everything into Unity. I will make one brief mention. Just like anything else you download from the internet, be wary of your sources when you download things. We trust BattleBunny, which is why I recommended Clara. But a Unity package can run scripts as you import it. And it might not necessarily tell you what those things are. So, general tip from the internet, but always worth mentioning. Only download things from trusted sources. It is running C# code on your computer and has the ability to do pretty much anything it wants to. Cool. While this loads, any questions?
Good to know.
Yes, yes.
For security reasons.
Yep. I had this thought recently, actually, because I have people reaching out to commission me, and I wanted to be safe and secure. So if somebody's reaching out who I don't know, and they're handing me a Unity package file, that there's a reason to apply some amount of skepticism and double check, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you double check? Like, is it efficient to scan it with Windows Defender?
I actually don't know for sure. I should probably have a better answer for you than that. I think Windows Defender will probably catch things. Otherwise,
go
ahead.
The way basically all antiviruses work is they check if a file meets a certain hash. So if it's a virus that has been seen before and that file has the same hash as a similar virus and has been distributed before, it's likely to catch it. If it's custom made, it's likely not to catch it.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. And since this is just C# code being running under the hood, it very well could be. But one of the things you definitely do get to do is when you when you double click on the Unity package and it opens up in Unity, it will have the list of everything it's going to import. So if there's like a C# script in there that you don't expect, that's potentially a red flag. Other than that, I don't think this is a common vector of attack. I don't think you have to worry about this regularly. I would be remiss to not bring it up when talking about downloading things off the internet.
AKA, don't go downloading Unity scripts or Unity packages from, some of the undesirable places. Yep. Get your stuff from the places that you should be getting them from.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you go to Gumroad or Jinxie or Booth, those are more reputable sources. If you go to this Ripper site that ripped someone's avatar, no, that is not reputable. And in fact, you will probably be likely to get a virus because people are angry with those sites and put things that are bad purposely.
Yep. That's definitely a thing that exists. Avatar ripping is... I have my own thoughts, but please support creators. They put a lot of time and energy into what they do. And we all want to see the creator economy thrive, and the way to do that is by giving them money if you want their content, if they're asking for it anyway. A lot of people give away free things, and that's sweet. All right, we are in Unity. I'm going to be giving a lot of the basics here. Please excuse a lot of this recap for most of you, if not all of you, but I think it's important to cover. So loading into Unity, there's a couple of things that are worth noting here. My windows are going to look slightly different than yours, and I'm hesitant to just reset them if I even knew how to reset them. Probably that button. I'm not going to press that. I really would prefer not to. If you have any questions, feel free to share your screen. By the way, if you have any questions, we can walk through it for your individual case. But the rough topology of Unity. You have your scene window right here. This is where you're going to see things in your scene. You have your hierarchy window on the left here. This is where you're going to see all of the individual items and be able to click on them to see them in your inspector. The inspector window off on the right here is going to have all of the data about any particular object. So we can see here we have the camera selected. We can see all of the data about the camera. We have our inspector window here, our hierarchy, our scene window. We have down here is our projects list. This is going to contain all of your assets in your current scene, as well as any packages you've downloaded off the Unity Package Manager, which is a completely different thing that we aren't really going to touch on very much. But just know that there are official Unity sources as well as VRChat sources that you can download things from. And lastly, we have this VRChat SDK window off here. If you don't see this window, which I don't think you do by default, go to this VRChat SDK up top and hit Show Control Panel. That will bring up this control panel. Usually it will come out undocked like this. I highly recommend you take it, click and drag it off to the right side here to dock it. This is where we're going to actually upload our avatar when we get there. And that's the basic topology of Unity. There's lots more to cover, such as the animator, which we will briefly touch on today, as well as all of the different things that you can add to a scene. But does anybody have any questions on the basic startup process of Unity?
Not so much.
Cool. Moving right along. Excellent. So we can take that Unity package that we just downloaded, and we can go ahead and double click it, and that will pull it up in Unity. Give Unity a second to figure out what it's working on, and then you'll get this import Unity package window here. This is where you could go double check what exactly it's importing. I trust the source, so I'm going to just hit import.
I actually have a question about importing.
Go for it.
Okay, so when you put in the package and like it will tell you what it's importing, what folders, what's in them, where it's going, and you put it in. Okay, sometimes I want to see again what was in that package, but if I try to import it again, it will just tell me it already has the files and won't even read what's inside the package. So what's a good way to actually see what was there?
Interesting. I'm surprised that it wouldn't,
Because like
wouldn't just show it to you.
if you try to put it again after it's been imported one, and it just tells me that it has everything. So okay, I want to like find out where did it send things, like what's the folder code, because in the assets I have like a bunch of folders from all the things I imported.
Yeah.
So where did it go?
One thing you could do is rename the folder. I'm not sure how much this would break. Typically, Unity is actually pretty good when you rename folders within Unity itself. It's pretty good about re-referencing the new stuff. So if I were to name this Battle Bunny 2 and then hit the import button again, it should, oh, interesting. It's so good at recognizing it that it knows that I did that. Huh. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. I'd be happy to come back to it after class, though.
Thank
I
you.
have a question.
Yes. What's your question?
Why does my screen look like this? Give me a second.
Yeah. Go for it.
Where's my background?
Interesting. I'm not entirely sure. I think once we open up the scene in your next step here, we might improve things. But that's possibly just that you don't have a scene. One thing you could do is you can focus on an individual element by clicking on something in your hierarchy, like main camera, for example, on the left side, and then hit F, which will focus it on your scene. If you don't have a background there, this is probably just that you don't have a grid. This might be it. Curious. Once we open up the scene, I'll be a little bit more concerned, but this is probably just something about your scene settings. Lots of different buttons up here can change the visibility of certain items in the scene. So like your gizmos button here for showing the camera. There is lighting to turn on and off lighting as well. But we're going to be opening up the scene for the avatar. To do that, we have this Battle Bunny assets folder. You can go into here, go into Clara, and then right inside of Clara Halloween 22, you will see this Unity scene. It's a Unity scene file. I think it's just called .unity. You can double click this and it will load up the scene. Boom. If you don't see anything, click on the thing in the scene and hit F like we just discussed. And boom, there's the model. This is very typical for avatar creators. They will upload either a scene or a prefab for their avatars. If it is just a prefab, you can just click and drag that into your scene. So they'll typically have a prefabs folder. You'll find the prefab in that folder, click it and drag it in. And there is second Clara. We're going to go hide second Clara for now. To do that, in the inspector window, there is this little checkbox here. You can click on that checkbox and it will make it go away. There's also this eye over here on the left. If you ever accidentally see something that doesn't show up and you don't know why, double check the eye is shown. I prefer to always use the checkbox to hide things. So we have an avatar here. Very cool. We can take a look at the inspector. We can see that we have all sorts of different stuff on the avatar, most of which we don't need to look at all right now. There's this VRC avatar descriptor, which contains a good majority of all the different base stuff necessary to run an avatar in VRChat. We have the menu, which is all of your menu items. We have the parameters list, which is anything you can change about the Avi. So if, for example, you could toggle this hat on and off, that would be a parameter that you can modify and turn on and off via a menu. There's also this FX layer here, which is the actual animator, which is what does all of the changing on an Avi. We will briefly touch the animator today and do a more in-depth class on that sometime in the future. But we could upload this Avi right here and it would just work. And I will at least show that process. So firstly, in the VRChat SDK window here, there is the account. You have to go log in using your credentials. Don't use my credentials, please. Not that I will share those. You can get my username. There you go. And it will ask you for two-factor via your email. Go do that thing. Oh no, they're going to steal my two-factor code. Oh God. Oh, it didn't work. That's awkward. What's up?
It's still gray.
It's still gray.
Yeah.
Share your screen again.
Give me a second.
No worries. No, this is meant to be a working session, so don't worry too much.
I'm having what they call it skillish.
That's more than fine. Being an introduction class. Okay, so you still have the avatar there. You just don't see the world grid. I think one of these options probably shows that. I don't actually know which one. I've never seen this before. That's an interesting one. Let's see here. Skybox, fog. Yeah. But you have the avatar at least, so you can work with that.
Okay.
If anybody knows how to show and hide the world grid, feel free to share. But I do not.
This button.
Oh, there you go. It's that button. You found it. And then the skybox itself, if you want a skybox, is this button up here.
Wait, give me a sec to watch your stream. Which one?
This one, where my mouse is.
Oh.
Sweet.
Okay.
Alrighty. Cool. So once you've logged into the VRChat SDK off on the right here, we can go over to the Builder tab. This will show you all of the information about your avatar as well as any performance requirements. So there's a couple of required fields here. You'll see the selected avatar up here at the top. We've only imported one avatar into our scene, so you'll only see one here. You have to give it a name of some kind. When I'm working on my models as tests, I typically put the date in there. So I'll put Clara 2024 1001. And then you have to put a thumbnail in as well. Typically, if you don't have a thumbnail for the Avi, I will just hit this capture from scene button and get the classic T-pose thumbnail image that half of the Avis in VR chat have, because everybody just is lazy and does that. Oftentimes avatars will ship with an image you could use if you wanted to use that too. Down here below that, you'll see all the performance requirements. This will also tell you if anything's wrong with the avatar. So if we've done something terribly wrong, it will tell us here and give us some options on how to fix it, or at least try to give us some helpful hints on what we did that we need to improve. For example, we have this auto fix here. This is just a warning, but it is giving us the option to auto fix. This will typically not break anything. I say typically because, you know, your mileage may vary. But I am going to hit auto fix on this just to show that. This particular warning is talking about the new VRChat constraints system. VRChat recently swapped from Unity constraints built into Unity to their own custom system. And they also built in a way to just quickly swap from one to the next. I am going to hit proceed here and just hope that it works. Again, your mileage may vary.
Is it like converting from dynamic bounds to fizz bounds?
Yeah, very similar. Only it's going from a Unity built-in thing, which were dynamic bounds Unity? I forget whether that's a Unity concept or just old VRChat concept. Yeah, regardless, same concept. There's some other things here you could try to auto-fix if you wanted to. I'm going to avoid that for now. Also here, you see the performance of your avatar. This is a very important thing worth discussing, and I'm going to be making a whole class on just performance of avatars because I think that it is very important. There are a lot of avatars sold all over Gumroad, Booth, etc. that are very poor, and that's fine. That's okay. But if you put 80 of those in a room together, especially if the creator didn't pay much attention to the performance of their Avi, some people who have worse computers are going to not be super happy. They're not going to be having a good time. I think it's really important as a creator, especially, that we work to understand performance, understand what can impact computers more than others, and try to make everything as performant as possible. That being said, avatar performance is a rough metric based purely on a couple of statistics, and we can go pull up those statistics.
This is probably a good performance metric for just how bad very poors can get. You put 80 very poors in the same room, my 4080 will grind to like 30 frames a second.
Yep. Especially, and not every very poor is made the same too. It's worth noting that like there are a lot of things you can do that are horribly non-performant that can still work on a good avatar. I can have a good avatar with a shader that will grind everybody's 4090 to a halt. Not even like a crashing Avi, just like this is all just a rough metric. There's so much more to performance than just the very poor versus good, but it's good to at least know why these rules exist and have a good understanding as you work, especially if you want to start selling things or putting things out into the world for other people to consume. That's obviously been front of mind for me recently. Yeah, that'll definitely happen. When you get into clubs with people and they're clubbing Avis with 70, 80 people, it can get pretty bad.
No.
Having
Those
lights on your
cases-
Avi that are inactive will actually cause your avatar to go towards very poor, even if the lights aren't active. So that would not have any performative, issues with anyone. It wouldn't even grind you to a halt because everything else could be performative, but the lights will cause it to be very poor. So there are good avatars that, like Basic said, that'll grind you to a halt, and very poors that won't grind you to a halt.
Yep. There's
So
the VRChat performance ranking system is purely just a guide to try to help people and to try to assist in the safety system, right? So that people can automatically hide very poor Avis by default, or hide Avis that are going to have like a 200 megabyte download attached to them by default. I'm putting a link here in chat to VRChat's performance ranks requirements, and I'm going to put it here as well. This is the built-in PC limits for excellent, good, medium, and poor. There's Quest limits down here too, and mobile limits now, which is particularly crazy. I'm going to stick to PC. If you have any questions about Quest stuff or mobile stuff, let me know. We can talk about it. I'm going to go over a couple of these concepts. I'm not going to go over every single one, but a lot of these things are worth noting, or worth knowing rather. The first one up top here is triangles. Every mesh is made up of a whole bunch of triangles. If we go look at, I have this sword pulled up here, for example. If we go look at the mesh, you will see a whole bunch of squares. What these really are under the hood is, if I can find the button, where's the button? Triangles. So if we look at the number of tries that are allowed in a poor avatar, 70,000 is the maximum. Each one of these triangles counts as 1. In total, this avatar this sword has, if I can find the button, 3,000 triangles. Not a particularly performant asset, but not bad either. We also have texture memory, right? So this is just the download size effectively of the avatar and how much VRAM it takes up. The VRAM is very important. If you have like a 3000 series or less a video card, you have a relatively limited amount of VRAM, typically 10 gigabytes or less. 150 megabytes times 80 people, you're starting to hit that limit. Lots of other limits here, including things on fizzbones, things on the number of skinned meshes. We won't really cover that as a part of this class. Lights, as Prophet mentioned, if you have even more than one light, it's automatically very poor. Number of bones, etc., etc., etc. Any questions on performance stuff before we move on?
So what particular things would be, I know some things you can go over and it doesn't seem to matter much. There are other things that seem to hinder performance very quickly. What particular things other than maybe the triangles and texture memory would be things to try to, if you've got to pick and choose things to maybe make an avatar better, not necessarily in the rating, but just so that it can be very poor, but it's not going to drastically lag people. What things should you concentrate on maybe?
Sure, I can speak to that at least a little bit here. So I think one of the bigger ones that a lot of people offend is texture memory. A lot of people who are new to creation, especially if you just get Substance Painter for the first time and want to learn it, will hit the highest quality texture they can, hit export, throw it into game, and it takes up like a gigabyte of VRAM. I've seen larger numbers than a gigabyte. I think the highest I've seen is like 2.5 or something ridiculous. 2.5 gigabytes is insane. So limiting your textures is a big one. And in fact, Unity has a built-in tool for this. So on any texture you already have, you can go over to your textures here like we see for Clara, click on it, and then in the inspector for that texture, you'll have a maximum size. You could just bump this down and it will compress the texture for you and lower the amount of VRAM it's going to take up. That is easily the number one thing I'm going to recommend for most people to do, is to just bump down the maximum size of their texture. In addition to that, there are some non-performant shaders. That's rarely a concern, but sometimes people try to get clever and put some sort of fancy shader that really tanks people. A classic one is glass. People will put like refraction effects on glass. That is horribly non-performant. If you have small little glasses, it's fine. But if you make like a big mirror, let's say, or a big pane of glass, your GPU has to work really hard to perform those refraction effects. Just worth noting. Other than that, not a whole lot. I honestly don't think that most of these other things matter too much. Reducing the number of skinned meshes can be valuable. Basically, the number of things that show up on this list over here is your number of skinned meshes. Oftentimes you'll see like body and clothes and hat or whatever in this list. Every one of those is a skinned mesh render. There are performance tools. Go ahead, Prophet.
I was going to say, when it comes to polygons, the reason why 69,999 is the max before you drop from medium to very poor instantly is because once you go over that to 70,000 polygons, it actually takes 2 steps. So it's doing twice the work with that one extra polygon in terms of the number of steps that it has to do to calculate everything. So
I actually didn't know
um,
that. Very
yes,
interesting.
So that one polygon causes twice the amount of work, and that's why it
Huh.
goes from medium to very poor just going between those. So that is something to pay attention to, if at all possible, to try to stay below that 70,000. Because if you go above that 70,000, you might as well go to 120 something thousand, because there's not going to be a difference between 70,000 and 120,000. It's still going to be 2 steps.
Interesting.
The other thing is your material slots. Your material slots do matter. So anything over 50 is going to be very taxing on performance. That's why a lot of clubs actually have limits
Mm.
In terms of 50 material slots or less.
Interesting. Yep. No, that makes total sense. I didn't know about that about the number of passes it takes to render things with tries. That's very good knowledge, and also goes to speak about there's always learning to be done. This is a constant, ever evolving adventure for me.
And then if someone's doing particles,
yes, particles are a big one.
Yeah, because most people will use Unity particles, and Unity particles are made for games and not necessarily for VR. And so they'll have just out the gate when you just import them, they'll be using 100,000 to 500,000 particles, when really you could drop that to 20 and it would look the exact same. So
yep, there's this total particles active that's a limiter built into very poor Abbeys. Useless, is that how you pronounce your name? To answer your questions. Yes, I will have an in-depth class on optimization, including for optimizing your current avatar. I have been doing that a lot recently, actually, taking a base that is very poor and pulling it back down via removal of things back to medium for whatever requirements. There's a lot of communities that will require that you have a medium or poor Abbey and stay away from very poor. And to your other question, removing assets, sometimes. It really depends. So you're removing the number of triangles, which always has an effect. Well, when you're going below those, 70K, 140K multiples, apparently. In general, too, that's one less skinned mesh renderer. If you have the things that are in this hierarchy, if you have like a clothes option here and you delete that, that's one less thing it's going to have to render. Even if it's not showing it, oftentimes it's still rendering things under the hood. Or at least has to keep track of that thing under the hood. Typically less is better, as a general rule. There are also tools that can do this for you. This is one thing that's really worth noting. There's 2 Thrize avatar performance enhancing tools and Dark's avatar performance enhancing tools. I will link both of those at the end of class here. Both of those attempt to do a lot of this automatically for you by combining your skinned mesh renders and doing a bunch of other things to try to make it as performant as possible. I typically shy away from the automated tools because I like to know how things work and kind of understand them at a core building blocks level. And I end up doing my own work, for better or for worse, rather than relying on those tools. Yes, for sure. And being less taxing on others is, of course, the goal. Our own Abbeys affect us a little bit, but really we're worried about the fact that there's 80 people just like us in the world, right? If there's 80 people who are all performance conscious, everybody's experience is better. That's why I drill that home so hard.
Usually doesn't happen that way. A lot of clubs will straight up not let you in if you're a very poor.
Yep.
And will have a requirement. You have to be poor or better. Mostly, but almost every rave club I've seen will have that requirement.
Yep, many of them do. All right, I have one more thing. I guess I should clarify. Any more questions on performance here?
I noticed something in the validations, the triangle limit.
Yeah.
Didn't that used to say polygons?
Maybe.
Because I remember that I used there was this trick, didn't always work, but you could get under the limit. You could drive the number down by changing the shape of your polygons to not make them triangle. I was actually just
Interesting.
looking at
There might have been a change over time.
Yes, quads. When you look at an ABX in the inspector, there is an option to use quads,
Huh.
and that actually reduces the number of polygons. And I've used it for optimization. Sometimes it broke the mesh, or it will create artifacts, but it will reduce the number of polygons when it still said polygons, but now I think it just reads triangles. So that's actually seems to be a recent change.
And on that note too, though, what's really interesting under that is Unity under the hood is rendering everything as triangles anyway. There really isn't any performance improvements, are purely just the number. Being less.
Just the validator already
Exactly.
does less. Yeah.
When we consider what I had this before, when I had it as quads, I manually made this into triangles to show off what tries were. Typically, a lot of mesh creators, for a variety of reasons, will mesh in quads, which are 4-sided polygons instead of 3-sided polygons. Under the hood, they all become triangles at the end of the day. It's just more convenient to mesh in quads for a bunch of reasons we'll talk about either next week or the week after.
FYI, I found out why the 70,000. So it's shader passes. So after 69,999, it requires 2 shader passes rather than 1 shader pass, just
Interesting.
for those polygons.
Yeah.
And so that can artificially inflate the amount of polygons that it's actually having to read, because it has to do multiple passes on the shader.
I'm interested in that history, nobody. I love learning about this stuff. And Useless, I just saw your comments in the Grand Hall. Sorry, jumping back and forth between chats here.
The very short version is they tried to do native quad rendering because it looked better for some games, but because of the higher compute, it never got through, and we still use the triangles.
Huh. Good to know. Very cool. Okay. Moving on. So performance can all be seen over here on the right. So we can see what the output performance of the avatar is going to be, as well as anything that is going over. So this is in particular telling us why we're medium and not good. This avatar has enough triangles to be good, but is medium because it has too many material slots and too many Fizzbone components. Medium is still great. That's a great target to shoot for. Most places don't require good. Medium is my personal target. Poor is fine. And very poor is the leftovers. It's everything else. But we could go ahead and upload it right now if we wanted to. You would click on this button right here, and then you'd hit this build and publish button. Feel free to. If you'd like, it will sit there and spin, and we can continue to talk about other things. Purely for the sake of brevity, since we only have 10 minutes left in the official class, I'm going to not hit that button right now. What I would like to discuss is adding accessories to Avies. I don't think that there's a whole lot. Actually, I wanted to back up for a second. I don't think there's a whole lot to cover on any sort of warnings or errors you might get uploading. This typically just works. If it says it's going to work here, oftentimes you might get some pop-ups asking you if you need to do certain things, like Poyomi Materials baking those shaders. Typically, you can just hit yes or okay or accept to all of those things, and it will just upload. Modern VRChat avatar uploading is really robust. I'm sure this would succeed if I hit publish. If anybody would benefit from me doing that, I'd be happy to. But I imagine anybody following along themselves can just do that. Go for it.
One thing I've noticed with some, like, I don't want to say less reputable because it doesn't feel right, but some avatars will leave an ID in the pipeline manager component. So you have to go in and disconnect it before you can upload it. This is how VRChat keeps track of what avatar you're updating, is there's like a specific ID code that it sticks on there. So if the creator accidentally leaves it in the pipeline manager, it won't let you upload because they're trying to upload to someone else's avatar, essentially.
Yep.
I've found that it deletes it for me automatically. It will give me a warning message that I'm trying to upload an avatar I do not own, and just delete it.
Yeah, good to know. Yes, that's a really
But
great point.
but you do need to bear in mind the blueprint ID. So either way, you should clear that.
Yes, and that's a great point. I actually will hit upload specifically for that. We can discuss the next step while we work on this. This is the pipeline manager script that's being talked about. It's on the root avatar object in the hierarchy. As soon as we upload, this blueprint ID is going to be filled in. And if we ever want to upload a different version, we're going to have to detach it. Because if you just upload again, even with changes to the Avi, it will just update the existing avatar. Oftentimes, I will detach between every single change I make because I'm paranoid. And something will always break, and then I'll have some sort of class I want to be at and can't show off the new shiny thing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit build and publish. That's fine. Here's an example. I don't even know what this means. I'm going to be real with you. I should probably know. I don't. I'm going to hit the yes button.
Yeah, I say this often.
All the Thrive stuff. I'm still learning too. I'm still new to this. I only started with Unity and Blender really about 5 months ago. Although I've messed around with Unity in the past when I was doing like game development classes in school way back when. I'm still learning. Everybody's on this journey. If there's anything that anybody doesn't know or that asks and I don't know the answer to, I'm going to make an effort to go learn it by next week and come back to you next week with an answer. I'm hoping to do this class every Tuesday at 8 p.m. EST or 7 p.m. CST. And kind of go along the journey, the similar journey to what I did when I first started learning.
Sometimes this step, the compilation, I've seen it go for a very long time, and it will tell me it's creating shader variants.
Yes.
And that has gone for like literally half an hour, and then at the end, sometimes it still like fails and doesn't upload. But what causes it to spread out and go through this prolonged process? Is this something that needs to happen?
I think it is. I don't have enough knowledge of shaders. If somebody else does, feel free to chime in. But effectively, Poiomi shaders, to optimize them, need to be locked in after you've set all the options. So basically, the shader does a whole bunch of pre-calculation work. And the more complicated shaders like Poiomi that have a billion options have to do that pre-calculation work, or they don't function when you put them in game. So it's mostly just Poiomi locking in those materials. I would show you, but I can't. In fact, it's compiling shader variants right now.
If you log them in manually, that helps.
I think so. I'm pretty sure that's true.
Okay.
Not entirely sure. I'd have to go do more research on that. I wanted to add a simple accessory. We are at time, so I'm gonna breeze through this. Or not at time. We still have 6 minutes, and I'm going to be here for a while. But I do want to have a formal end of class on time. I find that to be important to keep everybody on board. Cool. And here we go. It got through all the complex stuff. It's doing the final uploading, and we can see eventually. Yeah. Progress bars are all lies. Hey, upload succeeded. You see that right there. You can even hit C on the VRChat website, and it will take you over to the VRChat website, where you can see your new avatar that you've uploaded, any details about it, as well as things like generating imposters down here at the bottom. So for any PC avatar you upload, Quest users will see your fallback. Your fallback is typically one of the VRChat default avatars. If you want a Quest user or somebody who has your avatar hidden to be able to see a slightly crappier version of your avatar, you can hit this Generate Imposters button. What that'll do is it'll try its best to make a decent looking version of your avatar that anybody can see, including people that have your avatar shaders hidden or Quest users. Your mileage may vary. Sometimes it generates them pretty badly. There's a lot to be talked about there as well about how to make your imposters look better that we'll cover in a future class. What else we got? Oh, yes, we have this pipeline manager thing we talked about before. So now that we've uploaded, we have this blueprint ID right here. If I hit upload again, it's going to upload to the exact same slot and update the avatar I had before. If I want to make a new version, I'm going to have to hit detach here. Upon hitting detach, it also clears out the name and the thumbnail. So I will have to re-add those as well. We're going to breeze through adding an accessory. I think this is still valuable to cover, even though we have no time left. So what I'm going to be adding is a halo to our avatar. I found this random asset on Gumroad just by searching. It had just happened to be made by Zek, who I'm a big fan of. If any of you've ever seen my avatar before, you've probably seen the holographic projection I have. That is from Zek. He is an amazing shader producer. Oh, that is Chrome lagging out. Cool, thanks. So I have this cog here. I'm going to put this link in chat. There you go. And I've already downloaded it. So I'm going to open up the Unity package. Similar to the avatar, we have all of this stuff right here. We're going to hit import. That will bring in a new thing in your assets list down here. Typically, avatar creators or asset creators will have some sort of instruction on how to use their thing. It looks like this one doesn't. And that's also not super surprising. It's a free asset. Typically, free assets, you're not looking for the highest of quality bars. Somebody just made a fun thing they liked and put it online. In this case, there's this prefab that we can drop into our scene. And you can see we have this cute little halo here. To add this onto your avatar, you can just do a couple of really simple steps and it just works. Firstly, you need to move it to put it into place. So I can move it. Sometimes you get these weird rotations. You just kind of deal with it. There's probably a way to do it better. Nah, Unity's weird. And put your halo above your avatar, above this gigantic hat. If I wanted to make sure it was perfectly center, I'd zero out this X transform over here. And cool, we have a halo above our avatar. But if you were to just upload this right now, it wouldn't be there. And that's because it's not actually on the avatar. I just dropped it into the scene. To put it on your avatar, you drop it here. And now it is part of your avatar. It will be uploaded, but you'll notice a problem. That is, it won't follow your head. You'll like move your head around and the halo will stay in the exact same spot. That's because of how armatures work here. Avatars all obviously have a whole bunch of bones inside of them. We have our spine, our chest, our neck, and our head. If you ever want to have a quick and dirty way of making sure an asset follows any particular bone of your body, you can just drag it into it. So I have this halo. I can drag it onto the head. And now that halo will stay forever on my head. It just works. This is not a good way of doing things. I recommend using VRC Fury, which we'll talk about more in the future. VRC Fury can do a lot of really cool things, including adding automatic toggles for you. So I can literally just add this toggle component right here, add an action to toggle my object, and give it a menu. Just call it Halo. And bam, that's all you need to do. That will add a toggle to your avatar. It'll make everything just work. There's a lot of caveats to this process and a lot of reasons to learn the more nitty-gritty details about the animator. The animator is this big spooky thing that doesn't have anything in it right now. Cool. It is all just a bunch of state machines, including, like in this case, what your gestures do when you have a fist or an open hand or whatever. Lots to cover there in the future. But if I were to upload this right now, and I will while we cover final questions of the class, it will have a halo that is toggleable in my menu and is parented to my head. If I wanted to upload a different version of the Savvy, like we talked about, I would hit this detach button right here for the sake of time, so I don't have to fill things in. I'm not going to. I'm just going to hit this build and publish. And while we wait for the halo, I'm going to go ahead and show you in VR chat what we uploaded. So if you followed along with my instructions, we can go to this avatars list and we will see Clara right here. Security checks failed. Oh, that's awkward. Okay. Pretend like that worked. We'll figure out why it didn't work later. Yikes.
Good
Anyway,
old VRC.
good old VR chat. Would not be VR chat without a little bit of jank. We'll see if this new uploaded version fixed. If you see security checked failed, this is typically just an issue locally, and restarting VR chat will probably fix it. Security checks really only ever fail actually when you have a malicious shader. So there are malicious crashers, as we all know. VRC has attempted to implement a bunch of things that will detect that and prevent it. So if you ever see security checks failed, that's why. A good chance you didn't do anything wrong. There's a good chance if I restart VRC right now and upload it, it would just work. Yes, we will definitely have custom menus and editing current menus of avatars. I think
Is there a way in private worlds to forcibly load the avatar anyway, even if it does actually fail for whatever reason?
I don't think so. I think, I think restarting VR chat would fix it. I'm pretty sure it will lock you out, and you just can't do it, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
We can also see funny examples of me detaching all of my avies with my test avies. I've made a couple of these over the course of making this avi, which is my personal avi. I'll show off the personal avi as well.
Is there a way to change your avatar, the avatar you're using, without going into the game?
Yes, you can at least unselect an avatar, and I know this because I've had to do it in the past. But right over here in your avatars list, you can switch to avatar. There you go.
Ah,
There's your answer.
Perfect. Thank you.
I might even be able to just press that button.
I had this issue where I found a crasher in the avatar search, and every time I started the game, it just crashed me instantly.
Oh, hey, it worked. Crazy.
Hey!
Whoa, that's awesome. All right, so it actually did just work when I had switched to avatar. Just functioned as you'd expect it would. I don't see the halo, unfortunately. And I don't think it's in my menu. Oh, wow. Oh, hey, look, wow. Everything actually worked first try. That's a miracle. Excellent. To end the class, this is a perfect way to end. You see the avatar we just uploaded. If you followed along with my rushed instructions at the end, inside your menu, inside your expressions menu, you'll see this halo that you can toggle on and off to get your cute little cogwheel halo. And it's parented to your head. So as I move my head around, it moves the halo around.
In the VRC Fury toggle element, there is a part you can take if you want it to be default on in the options.
That's this guy. Where is that?
No, in the options.
Yes, up here. A whole bunch of options here.
Default on. Yeah.
Yep, one of which is default on. Lots of other cool things you can do with this. Useless to your question. Yes, we will absolutely be covering custom menus as well as editing current menus of your avatars. We'll at least be touching about that a little bit on the performance topic. But we will dive full into the animator in at least one of these classes. Probably not till week 3 or 4 at the earliest. I'd love to start next week with an introduction to Blender. And I will have homework for you all. Wow. This is obviously optional. It's a free class online after all. But if you want to learn Blender on your own, here is the infamous donut tutorial. This is how I started Blender. And it has a bit of everybody's done it. It's like one of those infamous things that, for better or for worse, almost everybody who's worked with Blender has done this tutorial, or at least part of it. It has a bit of a bad rap. I'm not really sure why, to be honest. It taught me very nicely. It's a long tutorial, though. It's 4 hours of videos. I recommend it, though. If you are at all interested, at least watch the first video or 2. It will walk you through opening up Blender, understanding the UI, and getting started. At the end of the day, you make a plate full of donuts. I don't have the video in front of me or I'd show you, but it's a very gorgeous rendering of a bunch of donuts. And the teacher is a pretty cool guy, knows his stuff and is very well-spoken. But yeah, I think next week we're going to be starting into Blender, getting comfortable with that tooling, taking your avatar in and out of Blender to make changes at a more fundamental level. So like right now, we can't really change any of the clothes or change any of this mesh in Unity. We have to do that in Blender. So we're going to take the FBX, which is this model file here, move it to Blender, make a bunch of changes, and then pull it back into Unity.
There are some Unity tools that can do some changes, but that's like a specialized thing.
Yes. Yep. Excellent. Well, that's all I have to show you. We got everything
Thank you,
downloaded, got
Tuesday.
Unity. Yeah, of course. Got the avatar uploaded. Got to see it in game. Mission accomplished. Does anybody have any questions about anything we discussed?
I just like to mention something. I'm not sure if we touched upon the visibility when you're uploading, because that is an important thing.
Very good point. So there's public and private visibility of avatars. If you upload a public avatar, anybody can use it. Anybody can clone it if you have cloning turned on. And in general, you have much less control over who has it. Now, if you're making your own avatar, that's fine. You can make it whatever you want to. If you want to make it public, go for it. But if you're buying an avatar online, most creators will have a piece of their terms of service saying you cannot upload a public version of that Avi.
Because it makes it really easy for those to be grabbed and ripped and taken by people that have not paid for it.
Exactly. So as a rule of thumb, if you've purchased an Avi, set visibility to private or keep it as private before uploading.
Even if they don't rip it, like just by cloning it, you're breaching the contract because you
That's
buy
what I'm
personal
saying.
use.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for mentioning that. That's very good to cover.
So, an interesting tidbit for those that stream and are worried about someone ripping their avatar that they have spent good money on, that build and test is an interesting option, because from the way I understand it, you are seeing the avatar that you have been working on, but if you are in VR chat and testing with build and test, everyone else sees your previous avatar that you was in, not the one that you are currently testing.
Yes, they will not see the one that is.
So
that is built
you
in
will see it. If you have your streaming camera out, your stream will see it. People in the world, if they are running something to rip avatars, will not see it. Just a thought.
Yep. No, that's good. That's a good thought. And yeah, thank you for the feedback on the actual beginner course itself. I would love to run this exact same course at some point in the future, this exact same class for a new cohort of students. I would love to see a lot of returning faces over the next couple of weeks, because we're going to be building on everything we talked about today. Over, I think, probably the next 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to have a whole series that will build one on top of the other to really learn, well, everything that I've learned, right, to try to impart that knowledge. But sometime in the future, probably in a couple of months, we're going to be running this exact same class again. And I appreciate your feedback, because I think that's all going to be really good stuff. Oh, yes. Yep. It starts a little bit late. I might be able to run some Europe time classes on the weekend, but I work a 9 to 5 job during the week, so that would be a bit difficult for me. Awesome. Any other questions, comments, concerns, suggestions before we wrap up? And then I'm going to just do a bit of workshopping, I think, at the end here.
No, and just I'd like to mention that when you're adding accessories to an avatar, like especially if they're like ones that are specifically from your avatar, you have to be look at what is being added where, because it will often overwrite what you already have, and that can endure a lot of work.
Yes.
Like I've had issues where I would try to add an accessory, but it also comes with its own scene that will overwrite mine, or it will even try to import the main FBX that I'm using for the avatar, and it will change it. So all of these can basically kill what you have been doing until that moment. So, but that is I don't know how to touch upon this properly. It's just very specific to the user case.
Yes.
But it's something that that has happened. You just have to look at what is being imported where, and it will tell you if files are already existing and being overwritten.
And that reminded me of one great point that I forgot to mention. This scene data, we can and should save frequently. I mean, this is true of all of our work, really. If you're working in Blender or Unity.
Specifically renaming the scene.
Yes, save early, save often. And I do that here by File, Save As, or Control-Shift-S. I'll go and I'll typically have my own folder or just put it in the root level of assets. And I'll give it a date, right? So I'll just say, you know, scene 2024 10/01-1. And I will update this regularly, especially when importing and exporting FBXs, which we will touch on next week.
There are some things with applications where I'm making one version of something after another. I really wish that there was a setting in them to just be like, okay, here's the file name, append the date and time to the end of it.
Blender has that, only it's just a number. So like I have Crystal 8 here. I can hit save incremental. It'll make Crystal 9. And you will see some of my work to give you an idea. If I go to like my Avi folder,
I'm sure there's like a Crystal 500.
Right, where I have, well, I mean, I have a bunch of different names, but like, you know, low poly test 25, you know, combine 5, belly 26. I smash that button. It's funny. Hundreds, like literally 155 or something there. To your question, Useless, I don't have a course plan published yet, but I can absolutely do that. I'll probably put a pinned message in this channel. I also think we'll be able to make the recording from this class public as well as the transcription. That'll be in a different channel, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to make that public for everybody.